Today is Cinco de Mayo, known as May the 5th, 2021. This is the Service Hero Show, 365 days of awesome. Celebrate success through service. My name is Tamara Hunter, and I am your host. This is the show where we share inspiring stories of those inspiring others. So let's do this. We have a service hero that you all will agree, a nominated service hero that we are going to be telling an inspiring story. Be prepared to laugh, and also you may want a tissue around or two. We are going to be spending time together, and I want to also recognize those that have joined us. Helene Wilson, so glad you're here, my dear. One of our buddies, one of our ambassadors of the buddies. Thank you for joining us. We are going to be meeting our service hero, Mitch Carmody. Mitch Carmody, and yes, he has a really cool beard and mustache thing going on. It's not Santa Claus, guys, I promise. However, you know what? He's got some stuff in his magic bag that I believe is going to make a difference for many of you today. However, I'm not the one that's going to introduce him. I have someone that is. Here we go.
Hi, I'm Barbara J. Hopkinson of A Butterfly's Journey, and I'd like to introduce my friend Mitch Carmody as today's service hero. Mitch is a bereaved dad and sibling. He lost his son Kelly and his twin sister. But he's also an author, an amazing artist, a grief expert, a motivational speaker, a radio show host, and founder of Heartlight Studios. I met Mitch in 2016 at the Compassionate Friends National Conference in Scottsdale, Arizona. He participated in my Faces of Resilience photo shoot, which has a mission to encourage open expression of grief, loss, and love. We became friends. He later became my mentor, and I did collages that were representative of each of the photo shoots I've done around the world, and he took those collages and made them into an amazing video set to music that I now use to not only explain the work that I do, but also use them in my resilience workshops. So thank you, Mitch, for being a great friend, mentor, help in so many ways, and congratulations on being today's service hero.
Barbara J. Hopkinson. Many of you do know her. She has been celebrated as a service hero for the work that she is doing for those that are grieving, for those that have, so that they can be empowered. And we actually did share your video that you created for her on her Service Hero show. So much to talk about. She mentioned, she went on the list. You're an author. You have been a mentor to her. You have a radio show. You're a speaker. What artist? What is it that you don't do?
I haven't found anything. Mountain climbing. I really don't like heights, but
you're not a hiker. Okay,
I'm a hiker.
We'll let that
on the
one
ground,
go.
I'm fine. Yeah.
We'll let that one go. I want to recognize those that are here with us too. Terry, welcome. And Terry is saying, love Mitch. Absolutely. I can see why. So Mitch, an author, you authored a book that not many parents would ever want to author, that wouldn't want to necessarily be talking about the subject matter that you talked about. However, you've been on a journey now for 3 decades plus, haven't you?
Yeah, yes. It's almost 34 years this year.
34 years. I can't, I don't even, it's hard to imagine the words, I want to be careful with my words. And you have learned to take what it is that you dealt with, and you have inspired people throughout the world. So many people because of your son, correct?
Yeah, totally. Yes. It was a springboard into a whole new life, and it was uncharted. And so it's scary, but it's also, like being on an ocean and going somewhere. It's scary, but it's also exhilarating at the same time. You wouldn't want that exhilaration, but it happens by default, and you're taken to whole new places that you never dreamed of that you were going to go to, or even had the wherewithal to handle. So it's it's a very interesting journey. Just acknowledging that this is not going away.
Right.
How am I going to live the rest of my life like this? My mom would tell me, Mitch, put it behind you, buck up, get over it. And I said, that maybe worked for you after World War II or whatever. I said, but it doesn't work for me. I can't live without my son.
Right. Right. I want to recognize that we are on the E360 TV platform, and typically I will play a video right here and share with everybody how to find the app. And so on your smart device, I'm not going to, because we're right in the middle of a discussion that I don't feel would be appropriate. However, please do check it out on your phone, on your smart TV, wherever it may be, the E360 TV app. And so you can watch this show and many others, the Service Hero show, replays, and check out some of the other shows on the network, because they actually are great shows. I want to recognize those that are arriving. Andrea, I'm glad you're here. This is going to be a very good show. And yes, a very deserving human. I love that. I've been using that word lately a lot. I've been humaning lately. Okay, so what we're talking about is that your son, Kelly, he was diagnosed with cancer.
A brain tumor, a medulloblastoma. It's at the base of the medulla oblongata at the brain. So it controls the heart rate, the respiratory rate, everything. So he had just gotten headaches, and then when he said, I think I need glasses, I see double, and he'd been throwing up, but we thought it was the flu for weeks, and realizing that no, they said, get to the hospital now. He's got, we got to do a shunt, relieve the pressure, and I try to get rid of that tumor.
How old was he when he was diagnosed?
He's 8 years old.
8 years old.
Yeah.
And his journey here in this, as a human, in this world with cancer, how long was that?
18 months with cancer. So, when they diagnosed it, they said, well, there's nothing more we can do. We can take as much as we can, but it's like a little nest of stuff all around everything, So they got as much as they could, but then it's also like blowing on a dandelion, so all the cells go everywhere. And so then they got to radiate and chemo and all that. So we did all that. And he was dying in front of us slowly, but it became worse because we treated him like he was dying slowly in front of us. And I started saying, we've got to die like you're going to live, and live like you're going to die. And we said we're not going to accept this. So we decided to, what are we going to do? We went to Mexico. My nephew lived in Mexico, and he said his dad had a cabin place in Ensenada, and said, well, wow, we could go there, and there's an old lady that lives down there that has a special tea, and it will really help people with cancer. And I said, well, let's go. With nothing, we did everything we could do. We both left our jobs temporarily. We had wonderful employers, because you can't take care of a dying child without being together. You had to put everything on hold. And so we went to Make-A-Wish, sent us to Hawaii, went to Make-A-Wish, and did all the things. Kelly wanted to see Pee Wee Herman. Thank God he was out of town. But we went to Hawaii, and and he wanted to meet E.T. And so we went to Universal Studios. He got to ride on E.T.'s bike, because they happened to have it set up, and they said, one little kid is going to ride E.T.'s bike. And I said, I'm down here with Make-A-Wish. My son is dying, and he's going to ride E.T.'s bike. And okay, so I went right up there with Kelly, put him on top of E.T.'s bike, and they showed the green screen him flying over Hollywood. And he was so, and it was so cool. And I'm thinking my big camcorder of him sitting out. He looked so scared but he got his wish. He said, I wanted to meet E.T. And I got goosebumps. They got E.T. in the front basket of the bike, flying over Hollywood like that. Then he gets down off the bike, a couple seconds, and they said, okay, Kelly, well, how was that? Oh, great. And he said, well, what's your favorite movie, Kelly? And he goes, Rambo. Oh my God! Everybody broke up, And years later, I was speaking for TAP's organization, and with Bonnie Carroll in Washington D.C. And anyway, I got to meet the author of Rambo, and I told him that story. Oh my God, he was hysterical to retell it again. And it just tells you look back at some of those moments that got you through the moment, and they'll stick. Because there's other ones that didn't get you through the moment that stick too, but now they don't stick as much. It's those other ones that shine better that stick. And so you look at those things. So we come back from Hawaii, ended up and going to Mexico to see this old lady, and they said, "Oh, God will heal your son if you stay." So we stayed 6 weeks, and he was boogie boarding the ocean, feeling great. We are totally macrobiotic. We were doing all these things they told us. It's a long story, but they told us all these things to do, which we did. He was doing great. We put him in school. We decided to move to California, sold everything we had, moved to San Diego, went to Kensington, set up shop. Then the cancer came back in gangbusters. We went home and rented a condo for him to die in, and he died on December 1st. And then everything changed. But that night that he died we had been prepared, but you can't be prepared for it, You can have hospice on call, you can have this on call, and there's the proactive or pre-grieving, not proactive. That's what I talk about. But pre-grieving is going to make it better because you lose them incrementally. That's a bunch of hooey. It doesn't. No, it may prepare you in some ways to say things and do things, but it doesn't take the pain away. It's still the pain's the pain, and that's what happened. Then so the next day was just like, okay. The day he died was still beautiful, like all the things we did. He's going to see God. His eyes lit up, and he smiled one more time. And we were saying, oh, my God, death is beautiful, and he suffered so much. So death is really beautiful, isn't it? Then the next day I woke up and, no, it's not.
Okay, so I have a clip I want to share right now in your words about after it happened.
Hi, my name is Mitch Carmody, and I lost my son, Kelly James Carmody, to a brain tumor 30 years ago. And if I were to describe what the lowest point in that journey, it has been 30 years. And because I never knew what depression was until, 6 months, 8 months into my journey after he died, that I could not get out of bed for 3 days. And I didn't care if I lived or died. I wanted to walk in front of a truck. I had my daughter to take care of, my wife to take care of, a house, But all I could think about was being with him. And, and I did not. But all I did was drink beer every night. I just sat on the couch and drank beer. And it was a horrible existence. And I just told my wife, I don't know what to do. I want a relationship with my son again, but I can't. And then the Red Cross called right at that time, and they said, could you come and give blood? And I said, well, yeah, I'll go give blood. So I went and gave blood. And when I came home from giving blood, my wife said, my God, what did you do today? You're glowing. You look so good. You're happy. And I said, I went and gave blood. And I said, I do feel good. I was doing something for someone else and without any thought of return. And that's what brought me back, that I could help serve others, that I could turn my broken heart into a servant's heart and to start serving other people and help them in their needs. And my son was in the hospital. He needed blood. My father died at 15. He needed blood. My twin sister was killed in a car accident. She needed blood. She didn't make it, but all these people needed blood. So I said, I'm dedicated. Because it felt so good. And they said, well, we can come back in 6 weeks. And I said, no, that's the only thing that makes me feel good. It's like my new mojo. I want to give blood every day. And they said, well, you can't. You have to wait 6 weeks. And they said, but you can do through apheresis. They can put a needle in each arm, and they can take the blood that way and put it back in again, and then you can give twice a week. I said, sign me up. because that was what made me feel good. So I signed up. I started giving blood every 2 weeks, every month, as much as I could for the past 30 years. So I just gave 2 weeks ago, and I got my 47-gallon pin. So I've given 47 gallons of blood, which has helped extend the lives of some 1,000 people, all in my son's, Kelly James' name. That's what brought me back, turning loss to legacy and turning my broken heart to a servant's heart. And it can happen to you.
I love that.
Wow. I hadn't seen that in a while.
You know, I love that too. And finding that clip, and I had watched a few other clips before that one. So I had known about the story of your father passing, and you were 15 years old, and you tell the story. I didn't capture this because I captured some others we have yet to watch, but the clip I was watching about with you had talked about, similar to what you just shared here, about how afterwards you were, drinking the beer and doing all of that. And then it didn't mention, though, and I love the servant's heart. The servant's heart story is incredible, and how something like giving blood and 47 gallons. I wonder what you're up to now. Yet 47 gallons, I'm thinking, wow, that's a lot of blood. And then I went to, wow, I bet true love would have loved this guy, back in the day. And so, and yet then you go into the Minnesota mindset where your mother was like, yeah, buck it up. And you mentioned it before we listened to that clip, kind of like, okay, man up, be ready. The Minnesotans do this. Well, my birth father and that side of the family, they're from Minnesota. They moved to San Diego. And so when you were even using the accent, and I'm like, oh, I hear it. Oh, I've heard that, and your father passed, you were 15 years old. Your son, Kelly, passed. Your sister, twin sister, in an accident. You know what you're talking about when it comes to grief and the different programs that you've come up with and everything.
Yes.
You have had an evolution, and you went against, if you will, kind of like what you were brought up in, with that whole Minnesota bucket up attitude, in a way. Because you found a way to find, I love this, an innovative way to find the healing through grief. What would you like to say in regards to that? Your mother's telling you, hey, you've lost a son. I lost a husband at one time. I've now lost a grandson. Had your daughter or your sister passed by the time your son had passed? I don't know the timing on that one.
Yes, my sister died first.
Your sister died first. Okay.
Right. And because she was my, we were twins, and she, we were always had our celebrate our birthdays together, every year, since as possible as we could, and my mom, and I remember the last time we were all together with my mom said, okay. And we were 29 years old. And my mom still made me an angel food cake and a devil's food cake for my twin sister. That says an awful lot. And so she maintained that legacy. And so we're having our dinner at the beer stube, like we always did. And that really sounds Minnesotan, doesn't it? And so we're at the beer stube, and my sister says, I'm so happy, Mickey. I have my son from my first marriage, and I have a son from my loving new husband, and together we have a set of boy-girl twins. And because she said she wasn't supposed to have children, and she said, we had our children together, but we didn't have children together. And the doctor said, well, you can't have children. And she said, Loney, I have a direct connect with Jesus, and I asked Jesus to give me twins, boy-girls like you and me. boy-girl twins. And so lo and behold, she got pregnant. Only got one heartbeat diagnosed. Boom. She had a little baby boy and then a baby girl, just like she and I. And so she was happy as I'd ever seen her and just on top of the world. She said, I'm so happy, Mickey, and you can turn 30 next year, but I'm going to stay 29 forever. And 10 days later, she and her two boys were killed in a car accident, and the twins were 16-month home, left at home. And so that was before my son died. And I lost my father at 15, but you buck up, you get over with it. And my brother who died in the state mental hospital he was in the state mental hospital. You didn't know him, just get over it, but then when my twin sister died, the closest thing I can compare any other loss is if you don't really try to compare, but you can yourself. And it was my twin sister to my son, because it was like losing a part of me. Mm-hmm. And so, but my son got diagnosed 18 months, after my twin sister was killed. So I couldn't even really digest the enormity of losing both nephews and my twin sister, except that my focus was, I'm going to make sure that those babies, those twins like her and I, will get to know their mother. So I took her purse and her Bible tracts and her perfume and her grocery list and everything was in her purse, and the dress she was pregnant with her, and stuffed it in this purse, and I saved it for 16 years. And on my grandniece's 16th birthday, I gave her mom's purse. She could get to know her mom by the smell, by the perfume, by the list, by the handwriting, and it just how influential that was in her life to do that. And the young boy went the other way, and got into drugs, and you don't know what's going to happen, but thank God they're all together again. But as I said, my with getting through is all these things that we don't put them behind us. We co-live with it. And so when things happen down the road, we can identify how that puzzle piece fits in, because it's not apparent to begin with. But when I see the anniversary date with my granddaughter being born on my son's angel day, then just 5 years ago, my twin's daughter that lives in Florida had a baby, and she was born on my son's angel day on December 1st. My cousin in Colorado, I didn't even know until last year, but her son was born on my son's angel day. Family members born on December 1st. And
wow.
Then the twin boy gets married, and he has a child, and he has another child, and we want another third set of boy-girl twins, and that didn't happen. My niece had 3 girls. Then the boy, the son, he had a little girl, and then they both got pregnant again. The twins, unbeknownst to each other, got pregnant, and my twin's niece had her baby, and the son, or my nephew, his wife, had the baby 2 hours later in different parts of the country. So there's this magical familial thing that we're so open to it that can buoy us up in our grief. That's what I'm getting to. If we can look at all the magical connections, it's so powerful.
Absolutely. And truth, I have a family member very close that the same thing happened, that the child was born on the 1-year anniversary of gaining wings of the uncle. And, and the other grandma, I'm one of the nanas, and the other one, she's like, just let it be a different time in the day. So it was an hour difference, but it was, and I thought, how amazing, beautiful to be witnessing this. And then to hear your story as I'm like, I know that magic in that, because there is a beauty in it. Not everybody sees that beauty. I know that too, because I was at the hospital and I was kind of surprised at how some people saw it so gloomy and others saw it as such a gift. And I don't know that there was any that were kind of in the middle about it. It was one or the other.
Right. Yeah,
and so I'm grateful that you explained that. I want to show another clip, and then I want to go into something that you talk about in regards to what we're going to hear right now.
Hello, I'm Dr. Gloria Horsley, and I'm the president of the Open to Hope Foundation, and I'm here today with my friend Mitch Carmody, and we're at the Compassionate Friends National Conference. And Mitch, you are going to be giving a presentation on
vulnerability.
And what about vulnerability?
Vulnerability, it's the workshop is the power of vulnerability and knowing who you are as a griever. So that to be vulnerable, we have to find the courage to be vulnerable, because vulnerable to the pain and vulnerable to the joy. Sometimes we don't even expect joy, but with total vulnerability, I look at when I work with TAPS and I see heroes, and a hero that saves somebody is the most vulnerable person on the battlefield. They put themselves in harm's way for someone else. Being vulnerable to joy, vulnerable to hope, open to hope.
What about that? I mean, I've never thought about that as being vulnerable, because it hurts kind of, doesn't it?
It does hurt. So it's a vulnerability on both sides. Vulnerability to the pain and vulnerability to the joy. And when we're vulnerable, that builds resilience, because we're all in. We're all in when we're vulnerable.
But there's fear.
The fear is the other side, and that's the thing. Do we live in fear the rest of our life? But we can learn. We can learn skills. We can learn resilient skills by being vulnerable. When we put ourselves in that vulnerable spot, we can realize, I got things that I can use that I never tapped before. But if you don't put yourself in that vulnerability spot, you don't even know what you have. You block it all in. And maybe that first year when you talk about vulnerability is all about, or resilience is all about perception. And like the Dead Poet Society, get up on that table and look out and see a whole different perspective. And you can have a perspective. Your perspective can be, this is traumatizing my life, or your perspective can be, I can grow and do amazing things because of this trauma.
Wow.
But we don't say that, but the timing, the synchronicity is everything. You don't say that at the funeral, you're going to grow from this. But a year down the road, you talk about the growth that can happen, because you can't change what has happened, but you can talk about what can possibly happen in the future, because we have choices.
Okay. All right. So we're going to make those choices.
That's right. And to feel it, feel the pain and feel the good. We deserve joy. It is our birthright. And we can be locked up and not feel anything. And not feel the pain and not feel the joy. But we need to feel the joy.
Well, thank you for being on this YouTube today, Mitch, and good luck with your workshop.
Thank you. I love being here again. Love with my mama.
And thanks for watching this YouTube today. And I want to remind you, if you've lost hope, please lean on ours till you find your own.
Powerful. I mean, when you think about this, and I love how you laid it out, and I know you did a workshop on it. There's so much good information on Mitch's YouTube channel. I want you all to go there, subscribe if you know of anybody that needs some help through grieving and loss. Please go to his YouTube channel, look up his name. It's real easy, Mitch Carmody. You can find it and subscribe. And there are little nuggets that are there so that when you need them, you can get that information. The idea, I want to, number one, congratulate you, because I looked for an image, couldn't find one, but I understand that you've been, because of your work with TAPS and working with the military and such, you were honored and recognized by President Barack Obama, correct?
Yeah, yeah. It was through a letter only. It would have been cool to meet him or something. But being in TAPS, I never got to meet the president, and I could see him speak a couple times and see Joe Biden speak and whatnot. But I had sent him. I said I will send him a book, or I said whoever I talked to, and so he sent me a letter back and thanking me for my work with TAPS and for the military and for the gift of the book, and it was so interesting that. I didn't know about that till I got home. But when I got on the plane to fly home, because right after the service at Arlington, it's all boom, 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 everybody goes and it's back on the buses. And so I, zoomed back to the airport. I had to get a flight out right away. And I got on the plane, and this other, like a businessman in a blue suit, next to me. And we obviously looked different from each other. And he, and he said, you wore the bandana or something. I did that. He said, well, weren't you at the TAPS conference? And I said, yes, I am. I was. I spoke there. He said, I thought I heard you speak. And he said he reached into his pocket and he gave me this medallion, presidential medallion, that he said he carries with him everywhere he goes. And every once in a while, he'll give it to somebody that he appreciates with their service for the military. And so he gave me that, the Joint Chiefs of Staff. Gave me his medallion. So I was, oh, wow,
Wow. Well, beautiful. And TAPS, what does that stand for?
The Tragedy Assistance Program for Survivors. And so I worked with TAPS about 8 years and I go to different, they were regional around the country, but every year, Memorial Day, the big celebration. And with Bonnie Carroll, has Bonnie Carroll been on your show or? She's oh my God, she's fantastic. She's in New York right now with Tuesday's Children is having a big thing about the 9/11 Commission type thing, and I was there. I spoke a couple of years ago, and so she's there with Sheryl Sandberg, and Sheryl Sandberg is CEO of Facebook, but when she wrote her book Option B. She had heard my workshop about your loved one dies a second time when no one speaks their name. And she said, I'm going to go out and make a difference. And I don't know if I was the one that instilled her to write the book Option B, but she said there are more options out there than accepting what you have.
Right. So the vulnerability piece, opening ourselves up. I really keyed into that because of the fact that there are so many times that people, and especially again, coming from at least part of the family, coming from the area where you grew up, it was like, okay, yeah, kind of like you just protect yourself, but you just don't talk about it. You just don't, like you were talking about, don't air the dirty laundry. I don't know how many times I heard that very same line. I think it's probably in the rule book of that area. The job description, of, okay, you are a citizen. This is what we say. Yet, we hold it inside. The idea of holding it inside, that we deal with it, you just deal with it, or you just don't deal with it. You just move on. Just move on, keep going, keep trucking. Right. Yep. And I love the fact that you did a workshop, that you go out and you talk about allowing yourself to open up to both the pain and the joy, and that we deserve joy, because that's where I think that sometimes when people are grieving, or they may have the survivor's guilt situation going on, or whatever may be happening, right? And a lot of our buddies within the program that I have as a nonprofit, they deal with that a lot sometimes, and the permission, if you will, and to remind us that we deserve joy, and to open ourselves up to both. Because then you talk about in some of your other information also how you get past it, and then you start opening up to real joy because you've done the work. You're living your life, and that's what we're allowed to do, right?
Right, to live your life and realize you can do it, and to also to look at your neighbor and see what accomplishments, or how did they survive it? How did they ever do it? And not to go up and say, oh, I don't think I could survive a loss of a child. Well, that's not a good thing to say either, because that makes us would that make me cold and callous? No. So we kind of choose our words more carefully, but we look for mentors like Barbara talked about, or people that, I mean, even one of my mentors was Bernie Siegel, for obviously, but even what's his name, Fox, that young man that in Canada that had a prosthetic leg, and he jogged or ran all the way across Canada. And I was grieving, and I said, if he can do that, that was just one example. But you look at other people who survived tragedy and trauma, and I got a list of 16 things that you can do when you're confronted with trauma. When a baby is confronted with trauma, they do one thing basically, they cry. The only natural fear a baby knows is loud noises and fear of falling. And if they're crying either one of those, or if they're hungry, or if they don't know what's going on, that's the only option they have is to cry. Now we have options to react and attack, or react to resist, to compromise, to capitulate, to surrender, to freeze, to fall, to have a cardiac. We have all these different options that we can attack that moment of trauma. And it happened in a millisecond. And it goes to the synapses that we already have built from all the stuff we were told when we were growing up, or how you get over it, or big boys don't cry, or do that. So we automatically go to those neurons that are wired for that pathetic way we did when we were growing up. And so we start to rewire in different ways through our life, not realizing how we're training our brain all the time to handle even more trauma, because it's going to come down the pipe. More trauma is going to come. More trauma is going to come. And if we haven't handled it enough, because all the trauma that I had built up, I said, if I had let that all get to me, I'm going to blow up. I had to do something with that power of grief. Can either kill you or post-traumatic growth or post-traumatic stress. Post-traumatic growth is very possible, but you don't want to hear that early on.
So you have multiple talents. You write, obviously. You've written the book. You draw. You draw in black and white, and now you're in color. You also do sign language.
Yes.
I want to share a clip. I told you guys you're going to be laughing, and to also have possibly a tissue or two around. Time for the tissue. Here you go.
This road gets lonely since you've been gone. The only thing to console me is I'm sure that our love lives on. It's deeper than flesh and bone. It's stronger than time. And it keeps you close to me. When I open up my mind, so I chase butterflies, I reach for falling stars, I look for any sign from where you are. I call your name out to the wind so I can hear your voice again. Death can't keep us apart, 'cause I know you by heart. You're my heart. People think I'm crazy, 'cause I talk to you this way. Oh, but you amaze me with the words I feel you say. the inspiration that keeps me strong. And I know you're just beyond my touch, but you are never really gone. So I chase butterflies, I reach for falling stars, I look for any sign from where you are. I call your name out to the wind so I can hear your voice again. Death can't keep us apart, 'cause I know you by heart. You're my heart. Yeah, I chase butterflies. Baby, you're my heart. I'm gonna keep on chasing butterflies.
And here's a picture of the two of you. Alan is the gentleman singing, and I believe he wrote that song, correct?
Yes, he did.
And his daughter, Ashley, who was 18, died in a car accident in 2001. And of course, your son, Kelly, in 1987. There has got to be a double whammy there between you and Alan in the fact that his daughter died in a car accident and your sister and her two sons did. And then you both are fathers that have lost children. That is incredible. And this picture here, taken by Barbara J. Hopkinson, who nominated you. How beautiful.
Yes. We did a lot of work. We touched so many hearts in this country together. We've gone different directions artistically, but and I was actually wanted to, because dying from cancer, as you know, and that I worked 2 jobs. I was busy trying to make the best family so that the kids could have all the best things and all the best stories, and then realizing that I only had 18 months to live with him. And I think about all those years that I worked double shifts, and I think I'm not going to do that with my grandchildren. So when my grandchildren now are of age that I was on the road every other month, weekend traveling with Ellen, and I'm missing I'm not going to do this again. I got to see my babies grow up, and so now I stop and drop. A grandpa that stops and drops for my grandchildren. Whatever they say, anything. My granddaughter said, "Papa, I want to go to New York." I said, "Okay." 5 years ago, we went to New York City. We went to the Tuesday's Children, which is happening tomorrow. But I took my granddaughter when I went there, and it was just so fun to take an 11-year-old to never see Manhattan. And all this is the collateral.
I've never seen it.
Yeah, and I call those collateral blessings. We have collateral damage in our grief, and we have collateral blessings. The collateral damage is obvious. That's the rest of our life. But the collateral blessings is we don't look at. We look at because we don't want to, because we don't deserve to be happy. And, no, we find out we do, because we have other people in our life that deserve to be happy. And their happiness depends on our happiness. And so we just have, we have to look for opportunities to make that happen. And baby steps.
Baby steps, absolutely. In fact, I've been living with that motto a lot lately in the last few days. There's another clip I want to share and it's a short one, guys, but look at the beauty of this. I was amazed. I actually watched it a few times.
They say it takes a village to raise a child. It takes a village to bury a child. And we are the villagers. We come together all across the country, just like these different grains of sand at your table. You have your own villages at home. That's the village where you live. That's the village where you can help and give the skills that you have learned here and bring it back to your community. But here, we come for 3 magical days once a year, and we heal. And we bring that magic back to our community. The sand is representing you, your life, your grief, this whole room of grief, that we will put our sands together and blend all of us together into one village, the village called the Compassionate Friends.
I love how that all came to the beauty, the sands of time, the sands of life coming together, and how beautiful the colors are. Beautiful.
It's amazing. And what's the beauty of that is you cannot rehearse that. It was never rehearsed. They said, Anna Castaldo's idea about bringing all the sands together. And I said, I have this beautiful song. We just kind of came up with this last minute, get an aquarium. And then there was a Native American speaker from Arizona that was speaking as well. And it was people came up afterwards. That's the most spiritual, goosebumpy thing I've ever heard. To see
that makes a lot of sense. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense to me. Sorry to step on your words, but there was just something that was drawing me in. Like I said, I watched it and then watched it, and it just was it drew me in. And when you have an understanding of any of those that are from Arizona and Sedona, or the indigenous, or any of that, the life and the earth and all the power within the colors. We've been doing a lot of understanding of colors recently in our group, and when you start bringing all that together, there's a frequency to it, isn't there?
Oh, yeah. There's a definite frequency. Yes. It can be. It's palpable. It's visceral. I mean, everybody can feel it. I mean, it cannot be denied. So I wish any skeptic would have been standing in that room and tell me they did not feel something.
Yeah.
I just couldn't understand.
I felt it just by watching the video. I have one last clip, and I want to be able to cover it because I think that this is for someone, and we'll talk about it when we're done watching it.
Well, this is our last session of the day, and we like to kind of gear this session so we can have some time for sharing. And also, it's a little lighter. We've gone through some pretty heavy material today. And this is a little lighter, and then we can talk about grief being fun, but there's some things that we can learn from our loved ones in this segment, that we can laugh and share some of the signs that we do get. If everybody's familiar with signs, obviously this is about signs that I believe that our loved ones live on in existence beyond this one. That their physical body dies, but they survive on another existence that we have to tap into and recognize. But it's looking at a whole different perspective again. It's to look and feel and hear signs, and to be able to not talk yourself out of them, that you're crazy. But here we are on mini planet grief, where everything's okay what we're talking about. We can talk without shame, without embarrassment, about our loved one, about our signs.
Signs.
Yes, they are an integral part of the grief journey. There's no way about it. It's one of the best salvos and catharsis anybody can have. Thousands of people I've talked to and said, what is the best thing that brought you out? Just a little higher vibration that you can, when your water's up to your nose and you just get a little bit above like that, it's giving a sign, and it can be almost anything. So don't discount it, because it is so important, and it happens all the time. And there's nothing else. There's no drug, no psychiatrist, nothing can make you get that elevated feeling, truly.
So if you see something, you see a heart on the pavement, you see a butterfly that for some reason flies into your home, you see whatever it may be, you're saying don't discount it.
No, yes, exactly. Do not discount it. If it's a bit odd at all, don't discount it. In fact, I call it like forensics. I mean, just look at everything. What time it happened, what the second was it happened. Maybe it happened at 2:32, whatever. I mean, what day was it, what the weather was like, because our memories, our body memories, smells, the exact time that it hits our body, the same year, every year, our body already knows that this is September, whatever, or what. I mean, so when it happens again, all those things happen, the smell, the same timing, the lighting, and all of a sudden your body is recognizing, and then you see a coin that says the year they were born on. But some people don't even look at the coin, but look at the coin. Look at everything about the day, everything about the moment, what happened even years ago. Maybe it's a special day. It was grandma's birthday. Or you don't know. Look at it as closely as you can. And usually you can find, it's not like grasping for straws. I mean, are we desperate? Well, we are. So, so it's okay to be desperate. It's okay to be hopeless until you find hope. But don't expect to be hopeless the first couple months. Swim into hopelessness. Help me, someone's going to hold on to me, but if you don't, you're going to drown. But, you need somebody those first couple months to hold on to you, or you probably will drown. I mean, it's so overwhelming, and
wouldn't you say this too, that if you don't allow yourself to get pruny in that swimming in it in the very beginning, then at some point it may show up later because you never did the healing through it.
Yes, and it may show up as cancer in yourself. It may show up as arthritis. It may show up dementia. It may show in I don't give a crap about anything. Apathy is another effect that it physically hurts us as well.
Right. Thank you for saying it. We need to deal with stuff, guys, and this show. And what Mitch is teaching and has been teaching for decades, I believe, translates and transfers into the grieving process for the parents that have lost kids, but it can transfer into any type of grieving process. There's many right now through COVID that have had a complete shift in their life, and they're grieving. They need to deal with it. This same principles apply, right?
Oh, definitely, yes. If you've gone through the deepest, darkest grief, you can be the biggest asset for somebody. And there's so many people that are so clueless right now. They've lived in their fast-paced credit card life, and everything gets fixed easily. Well, we found out this past year, not everything can be fixed easily. And that's what grief is a lot about. People are starting to understand a little bit of the griever's journey by what they've been going through this past year. Finding out who you are as a griever. I have a whole workshop on Winnie the Pooh, which is kind of interesting too, but probably don't have time to talk about that.
I love Pooh Bear. Maybe another time we'll bring you back.
Yes.
Love Pooh Bear. So what would you like to leave everybody with? First of all, I want to say I do have an image here, and I want to share it because I think it's a beautiful image. This is another wedding that you officiated, and what you are right now in the process of growing there, the facial hair may look a little different than some of the clips, guys, but first of all, COVID, okay, got it. But then you were asked to do what?
I was asked to do a wedding for our best friend's daughter, and they were supposed to have it during the pandemic. Had it all set. I had the marriage license ready for them, and because of COVID, the hotel, and no one's going to come. It was right in the middle of it. They said, well, we're just going to have to cancel it till next year. And so I said, well, come on over. They came over to the kitchen. I said, this is the last day your marriage certificate is good for you. You got to get it to the public, to the courthouse. So I signed it. I said, okay, you're married. Congratulations. And we kind of laughed. They said, no, we want to have a thing instead at the Renaissance Fair. And we want it to be very gothic and in purple and bats and wizardry. And I said, well, great. I'm already looking like Gandalf. How about Gandalf? So I got the costume. I'm going to be Gandalf the Grey. I made my scepter, and it's going to be a fun wedding. We're gonna catch up where the pandemic left us off, and we can do that.
I love it. And that's where you can have the pure joy, right? It's like, okay, why not have the purple thing going on and have, the hat and the scepter and all of it. Do it in your way. You're not hurting anyone. Have that joy. Find that pure joy in our life, because that is what life is about, right?
Right. And listening, if I say anything to anybody, to say, to listen to your body, mind, soul, and spirit, to listen to your gut. That we have more brain neurons in our gut than we do in our brain. So it's about time we start listening to our gut, number one, and then consult your heart, get guidance from your quantum participator, and make a choice with your frontal lobe, and you'll be okay.
So you have the Heartlight Studios. You are Mr. Heartlight. You have a radio show. You are doing so much out there. How can people follow you?
Probably my best is not doing the radio show now. That went almost 8 years too. So someone else, I turn it over to someone else because I'm retiring a little bit more. But just WordPress, I love doing my blog, WordPress.com, Mitch Carmody WordPress, or Mitch Carmody YouTube. Or heartlightstudios.com or .net. And I have just a lot of stuff on there you can look at, or email me at heartlightstudios@gmail.com. And if you have a question on grief or need to talk to somebody in the middle of the night, I usually get up at like 4 o'clock in the morning. I'm one of those, So, we learn new hours too. We learn what works for us.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. So as we close, no one does his way better than Mitch. Here it is, Barbara. Barbara, thank you so very much for nominating Mitch for the show so that we could share his inspiring story to inspire others. I know I have been well fed. I have truly been inspired. I so enjoyed going and watching your video clips. I want to again encourage people to go seek out his YouTube channel, watch those clips. I learned so much in the time that I did. I truly enjoyed them. Please go there and subscribe. Let him know. Give him a thumbs up on the ones that you like. Comment. Say that you saw him on the Service Hero Show. Love it. And I want to say thank you for being the service hero that you are and being an example, a servant leader with a servant's heart. Because when you shared that story, I love the sound.
I know my chimes are going off.
I love it. I love it, though. The bells are ringing. The bells are ringing, guys.
The bells.
There we go. Okay, so, the story, remember the story. Stories tell. They go into our deep psyche. Remember the story of when he was so depressed and was not doing well, and he found a way to serve by going to the Red Cross and giving blood. And over 47 gallons of blood later, this man has found joy and has helped many, many others do the same. So if you're struggling right now, find your way to serve. There are so many that could use your help. We all have a service hero inside. So it's a wonderful solution to a lot of issues. Makes you feel better, and someone gets the benefit of your service. Thank you very much, Terry, for being here with us. Bells of the Angels. I agree, Andrea. And we've told our story today, and I know we've made the case that, yes, Mitch Carmody is truly a service hero. Thank you, Barbara, for nominating him. We will be back on Friday to tell another inspiring story of those inspiring others. Until then, make it an amazing day and find a way to serve another. Bye.